everybody.
All right, welcome back, everybody.
Things. We are all in the same clothes because we just came from a budget workshop meeting. We have not gone home, but we're going to do our regular Board of Trustees meeting scheduled for April 20th. It is 7:07, and I'd like to call this meeting to order. Would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Clerk Trapp, will you do a roll call, please?
Bartholomew?
Here.
Edwards?
Here.
Fowler? Wait, can you hear me?
Zach, are you here?
I'm back under the table.
Yes, okay. Hart?
Here.
Poznansky?
Here.
Seidel?
Yes.
President Malzahn?
Here.
Everybody's here.
All right. I started out the last meeting, and I'll just recap the same thing. Later on the agenda is public comments. There are 3 ways for members of the public to participate in this meeting. You are welcome to join us on the Facebook live feed and enter any Facebook comments. You are welcome to, if you're on your phone, dial *9, which will raise your hand, and we'll put you in the queue for public comment. And you also can use the video Zoom chat feature. I ask that anybody who wants to submit any comments under public forum limit that to 3 minutes, and we'll call them in the order in which we're notified that someone wants to actually participate. So, with that said, let's please move on to the approval of the minutes. You have 2 sets of minutes in your packet. You have March 9th, 2020 and the March 16th, 2020 meeting. Is there any discussion?
Do you want them separate, or do you want them together or separate?
We can look at the March 9th meeting.
Okay, I'll make a motion
First.
to approve the minutes for the March 9th meeting.
Okay, so we have a motion by Hart. Do we have support?
Support.
Support by Edwards. Any discussion? Zach, any discussion on the March 9th meeting minutes?
No.
All right, roll call, please.
Hart?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Seidel?
Yes.
Poznansky?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
President Malzahn?
Yes.
Motion carried.
So 7-0 on those. And then we have the meeting minutes for March 16th, 2020, our
Okay.
regularly scheduled meeting.
I'll make the motion to approve the minutes for the March 16th meeting.
Support.
We have a motion by Hart. We have support by Edwards. Discussion. Zach, do you have any discussion on the meeting minutes from March 16th?
No.
Okay, roll call, please.
Hart?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Fowler?
No. Oh, yes. Yes.
Okay,
Poznansky?
Yes.
Seidel?
Yes.
And President Malzahn?
yes.
Motion carried.
Minutes are approved, 7-0. All right. Approval of the bills. In your packet, you have the monthly reports. So you have 2 reports. The vendor approval, $18,518.14. And the other one is
294, 307, 44.
I'm sorry, $294,
307
$307,
and 44 cents.
and 44 cents.
Make a motion to approve the bills.
There's a motion
Support.
by Bartholomew. We have support by Hart. Any discussion? Zach, do you have any discussion on any of the bills?
No.
All right, roll call, please.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Poznansky?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Seidel?
Yes.
President Malzahn?
Yes,
Motion carried.
bills are paid, motion 7-0. We have approval of the agenda. Any additions
Make a
or
motion to
deletions?
approve the agenda.
Okay, we have a motion by Hart,
Support.
support by Poznansky. Any discussion? Any discussion on the agenda, Zach?
Nope.
All right, roll call, please.
Hart?
Yes.
Poznansky?
Yes.
Seidel?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Bartholomew?
Yes.
President Malzahn?
Yes.
Motion carried.
All right, we have an agenda. Special presentations at this time, we have none. Correspondence, I have received none at this point. Officer reports. My president's report for April 20th, 2020. Sorry, it's a bit lengthy. Certainly been an interesting month, spent learning new and innovative ways to communicate so that I and our employees can remain working for our residents while keeping their health and safety a priority. The Village Hall, DPW offices, wastewater treatment plant remain closed to public. The police department remains open and staff are reporting as scheduled. With the exception of our police and dispatchers, all other employees are reporting for work in teams of 2 or 3 on an every other day basis in an attempt to limit possible exposures. Some are working remotely on their non-office reporting days. Upon arrival for work, employees are required to take and log their temperatures. We have had several illnesses among the staff, but no cases of COVID that we know of. I'm currently exploring options to retrofit the front lobby of the Village Hall in anticipation of reopening under strict distancing guidelines from our governor. I'm also inquiring whether or not that expense is reimbursable through FEMA and the state of disaster that's been declared. Accountant Tim is tracking and put in some codes into place in the accounting system that tracks expenses related to this COVID pandemic, payroll, supplies, and situational expenses that have been incurred due to the pandemic. They should be submissible for reimbursement from the state as long as they continue to meet the guidelines. There's a minimum threshold of expenditure, a couple $1,000s, so we're not quite there yet, luckily. Prior to the pandemic outbreak, Clerk Trapp and staff inventoried our emergency preparedness supplies. We had some gloves, paper products, sanitizer, and some face masks, not the N95 versions. Our police chief was fortunate enough to take delivery of some PPE from our county FEMA partners for their protection. I personally wanted to mention the outpouring and support from this community for our frontline workers has been most appreciated. Thank you to all who have donated and dropped off food, supplies, and encouragement. Your kindness makes a big difference. As of today, Romeo has 6 reported COVID cases with 2 deaths, with an additional 14 cases in Bruce Township and 46 in Washington Township. Both have an additional 2 deaths each. There are many community resources available. Most are listed on social media or through the Samaritan House. If anyone needs assistance, especially with food, you are encouraged to reach out to the village offices, 586-752-3565. We'll do our best to get you in contact with someone who can offer assistance. Clerk Trapp and I utilize our Romeo Village Hall Facebook page to share information as it becomes available, so please follow that page if you're online. Parks and Recs, including the Senior Center, has canceled all of their events. Buildings will remain closed until at least June 15th. Star Transportation also remains closed. The Parks and Rec staff has continued to phone our senior citizens to check on them as they are the most vulnerable in our community. Please let us all continue to do our part and check in on our neighbors too. And when possible, continue to support our local businesses. I know personally the difficulties being experienced in how eerily quiet our downtown is. And I'm sure, like me, everyone's tired of cooking 3 square meals a day, so if at all possible, think about ordering a few meals for carry-out from one of our many restaurants still open for business. There was some confusion last week regarding yard waste and open burning. GFL was on and then off again while they adjusted some staffing, and now that's back on for yard waste pickup. Until further notice, all 3 services, yard waste, recycling, and regular trash collections will continue on Thursdays. The DNR burn ban remains in effect. There is no open burning allowed in the village. This does not include small fires that are in some sort of container for cooking or propane units. The restrictions pertains to fires on the ground level for yard waste or large bonfires. Those are not permitted. Quarterly utility bills were mailed out on April 1st. On the village website, there is a link to the new Point and Pay portal so that those bills and any other bill that is owed to the village can be made online. There is a link. You can utilize your smartphone or the link on the website to access that portal. We have installed a second drop box right by the front door, so residents who normally would come into the village offices to make their payments can leave them in a secured box. Staff is checking both boxes on the side of the building and by the front door several times a day. As of right now, we have not chosen to extend the payment deadline, but I understand during this economic hardship, we may need to offer some sort of assistance. We'll be discussing that at May. Throughout the month, I have attended at least 12 webinar meetings with various agencies, including the county, SEMCOG, Michigan Municipal League, and with our FEMA representatives, in order to make sure that Romeo has the latest updates for the virus, as well as ensure we are in compliance with the emergency orders issued by our governor. I wanted to thank our legal counsel, Mark Clark, especially for his assistance in navigating all these new rules. And that's my president's report for April 20th.
Okay, clerk's report. Cemetery spring cleanup has begun. The cemetery board is hoping to meet soon because we did have a community cleanup date that we wanted to plan in May, but till we really find out what's going on with the state from the governor, we're going to postpone the community spring cleaning date. Hopefully, we could still have it in May, but maybe toward the end of May. And I was going to touch on what President Malzahn touched on about our water bills and going to the website. We have tested the website. Everything should be working properly. If you have any difficulties, please let me know because I maintain the website. And yes, we now have 2 drop boxes, one in the front door and one still the drive up. And we have right now envelopes and paper clips out, weather permitting, for residents' convenience. That's basically, besides regular daily duties, that's the just get excited to get the cemetery season up and running. And we do have 1 team member from last year's cemetery staff. We had 2 last year. We have 1 this year. And he's already been started, and he's already on top of everything. And all the equipment works well, so everything's tip-top shape so far. That's all I have.
Okay. I believe our treasurer is online at the Zoom meeting. Sherry, did you have a report that you wanted to submit at this time?
Do we see her?
Okay. Is she unmuted? Sherry, did you have a treasurer's report you wanted to submit at this time? All right, hearing none, we can move on to our trustees' report. Anybody here wanted to make a report?
All right, I have a couple things. I made a phone call to Jeff Rapp, who's our contractor for the sidewalks, just to touch base with him. And he's waiting to get the okay to start working again. We'd have his crew, and he is planning on doing that. So whether that's going to happen the first part of May or not, but he's still on board and itching to work, as I know a lot of people are. With the tree board, I attended a virtual meeting on April 10th. This Friday is Arbor Day, but because of everything that's going on, we have to postpone any kind of an event for this. We have moved the date for an event that'll be on Saturday. It'll be May 23rd. Hopefully we'll have the opportunity to be able to keep that date. If not, we'll have to move that. What we're looking at doing for the day, we have 2 people, or the business, Joe Warden, who's with the Tri-County Bank, the new bank that's in town. They have given the funds to put in a couple trees in front of their new facility. This would be on the easement between Main Street and the sidewalk. And then as well, Anna Reese, who has a home next door, she would like to put in a tree that is in memorial remembrance of Paul Reese, our former president. So we do that. And then we have Ken Bourgeois, I believe that, and he wants to put a tree in memory of his father. I didn't know him, but his father was Leon Butch Bourgeois, and I guess he was in the community for 40 years. And I'm not sure where the location of that's going to be, but we have those trees. They're going to be put in. We're looking at having some social media that's going to do the event, and then give some information to people on how they can properly plant, some basic do's and don'ts of how to do that, and then recognizing these people. And I think there's going to be some signage and some things for recognition, for what the trees are there. So kind of excited about that, and you should be seeing some things posted to promote the event.
One other quick note I just might add to that, the Green Macomb program that was available for planting material purchases, I would just notify that they're extending that to, I believe, May 24th as well. And now, if anybody does place an order through that program, the materials will be shipped directly to their house. So if you are still interested in participating in Green Macomb, I know we had a significant number of residents that actually bought some materials through them last year. It's still available. I'm not sure, is there a link to our website, on our website to that program?
Not at the moment.
Okay,
I took
we'll
it
work
down,
on
we'll put it
getting
back.
that up.
We still have the
But it's greenmacomb.com.
poster. Yep.
No, maybe it's greenmacomb.gov.
What was the date it's extended to?
I believe it's May 24th.
Okay.
It's either .com or .gov. So
Yeah, but it is Green Macomb.
it's
That'll
Green
probably
Macomb,
get you
yeah.
there.
Okay,
Yeah.
but we'll work on getting that link up. So, all right. Anything else, Bob?
Nope, that's it.
Okay. Mr. Edwards?
Nope.
Mr. Saito? Mr. Bartholomew?
Well, I was enjoying my community planner courses last month until COVID-19 came along, but we are resuming those online this Wednesday.
Oh, okay.
So
Yeah.
they've got it all figured out, so it'd be nice to get back at it.
Okay, great.
Awesome.
Trustee Pazinski, anything? Okay, whoops, wrong phone. Zach, do you have any trustee report?
No, I do not. And as far as the next one down after that, we haven't met, so there's no report either for the planning commission.
If you
great.
would, if you just want to recap the sign ordinance from the last planning commission meeting? That's okay.
I don't
We
have that in front of me.
We have the minutes in our packet, so I can review those
Yes, why don't you do
for
that?
planning commission. Okay. 2 committees. The parking lot subcommittee, I'm assuming, has not met. No one's meeting,
No.
right?
Well, and at this point, if that's not something that is in our budget, then should we even bother continuing? I don't want to waste their time.
I would not entertain that, but if it was a committee that you thought you wanted to pursue, that's fine. Otherwise, we can just table that committee until a future date, and then when we decide to resurrect it, then we can put it back on the agenda. Or we can dissolve it, and then we can reestablish, because I think it was pretty much a committee of one right now, right?
Well, it's me, Bob, and
Oh, there
you
was?
jumped off
Okay,
after
I
Nate
did
left.
offer, yeah. So it's entirely up to you. If you don't think that there's any benefit to having that subcommittee established, we can just vote to dissolve that and then pick it up if indeed we want to look at that project down the
I
road.
think that would be the best thing. If it's not within the budget for this year, I don't want to continue to waste their time or, make them think that we're headed in that direction right now.
For sure. Okay. Let's just, we'll just add that line item F then, under new business. I'm sorry, I know we already approved the agenda, but if we're going to take a vote, let's just move it down to F, and then we can agree to dissolve that. For the AT&T committee, we did have a virtual subcommittee meeting. We talked and discussed some language. We passed that language through AT&T, to AT&T through our legal counsel, Mr. Clark, and you should see that revised lease shortly. All right, unfinished business. We have our lawn maintenance bid. Obviously, at last month's meeting, we needed some more information to make a decision. You requested references and an expansion of the bid sheet. So you have those in your packet. Any discussion on that? Has anybody reviewed that and prepared to make a recommendation to move forward?
Was there, one had included, do we have any idea, I think it was with the mulching and things like that that were included in one and not on the other. Do we know, they had given a line item cost for that? That was something specifically between, Lawnscape Group. They had a separate for mulch per yard and hourly rate, and then I believe that was included in part of Parrot, or was that?
I don't think that they chose to make a submission at that time. I mean, everybody was given the option to submit for those specific line items. Some did, some did not. So if it was not included in the spreadsheet, I would make the assumption that they did not submit those 2 items.
Okay, so.
Doesn't mean they don't do the
work
service,
was-
but-
The work was the same for the 278 or the 473 per week?
Correct, based on the spreadsheet of these areas that they would actually be mowing. The bids for the weekly total, 473, if that's what you're talking about for Parrot, and 278 for Lawnscape, included the locations Village Park, the Sisson Street, iron removal plant, booster station, the alleys, wastewater treatment, DPW, the southwest quadrant, and the 32 Mile in Bailey.
Bob, I'm sorry, were you asking that Parrot put in any language about mulch?
Yeah, whether that include the 473 is a really $200 difference a week for the same cost, for the same work?
Yeah, here's their original bid, and there's nothing pointing out any mulch services.
Okay, from what I've
Specifically-
looked at, I would make a motion, there's Lawnscape Group. I was looking at the references, they were all like Harper Woods, Southfield and all that, but the company is in Washington Township. So I think they're trying to maybe work in this area, but it's $278 a week, and if all things are equal, I would make a motion to have Lawnscape Group do the work.
Okay, so we have a motion by Hart for Lawnscape. Do we have support?
Support.
Support by Edwards. Any further discussion? Zach, do you have any discussion on the lawn maintenance bid proposals?
Nope.
Okay. Ready? Yep, roll call, please.
Hart,
Yes?
Edwards,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Seidel,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Yes, he said.
Poznanski,
Yes.
President Malzahn.
Yes.
Motion carried, bid extended to Lawnscape Group.
Okay, that was 7-0. Obviously, we're following the governor's directives for the stay-at-home, and we are not encouraging any lawnscaping or lawn maintenance to be done at this time. If it continues for any length of time, Tim, the DPW staff, will commandeer the mower up at the cemetery, which we do have the authority to mow grass in our public parks as a safety issue. So they said that they would do that work if we continue to have a lengthy time period where no other lawn mowing can be done on public or private property.
We're not restricted from having a contractor that we select to mow that grass either, though, are we?
That's correct.
So
They
we
could,
could
they
have-
could mow the park, but I don't know if that, right, they could mow the park,
If the park is required to be mowed, then the landscaper could do that.
could do that one, but not the other sites.
Right.
Because that's not a public safety issue. So, all right, let's move on to new business, the property maintenance code adoption. So I had asked our building inspector, Mike Bomarito, to come in and address some concerns that I had with several properties in the area. And he indicated that he just had Washington Township adopt, not by reference, but by by resolution, the Property Maintenance Code. This is a book, you have a copy of the cover, that is updated regularly. This one that we're looking at is the 2018 version, so maybe not that regularly because we're at 2020, but it helps him maintain the level of which obviously people need to update their property. So he was suggesting that we put this resolution forward to adopt this by ordinance for inclusion, so that he can then issue citations or letters of concern that has people addressing their deficiencies appropriately.
Okay. One thing I noticed, it's probably because it came from Washington, is it says the Township Board of the Village of Romeo. That just, probably would need to be
I didn't even see
updated.
that.
I can strike that.
Yeah.
Can you tell me what paragraph that was?
It's right on the cover, yeah, right on the title.
So
Right
this
above
is like
section
a
one.
little bit
So it's-
of blight
Oh, gotcha.
management in some way?
Yes.
So
Microsoft Word wasn't.
Someone's porch looks like it's literally ready to fall down and collapse on something. This is,
Yes.
The right to site?
Right.
Okay.
It's an international code that's established, and we would need to adopt that by ordinance so that the same rules would apply in the village.
Mark, do we know if this is much different than what we currently have?
You have the version from 2003, and as Ms. Malzahn mentioned, it's periodically updated.
Yeah.
I want to say it's every 5 years, but that might not be right. I'd have to do the math. But in any event, I'm sure there are similarities. I've not compared the 18 version to the 2003 version. I'm sure there's some of the requirements that are pulled forward. But if Mr. Bomarito recommends the update, making his job or code enforcement in the village better, then certainly I think it would be appropriate to.
So it's just updating the current one we have from the same group.
Yes, you're allowed to adopt ordinances like this by reference, or I should say more accurately, codes like this by reference. The law permits that, and so you're simply adopting the International Property Maintenance Code by reference as you've done back in 2003. This just gives you the most current version.
So I'd like to make the motion that we adopt the International Property Maintenance Code as is presented here.
I'll support.
Okay, we have a motion by Bartholomew, we have support by Seidel.
I just wanted to point out, I'm sorry, that the majority of the changes that I did notice upon reviewing them was in regards to like fire suppression, fire safety, and fire codes. So that they edited upon review, about 4 pages, it seems like, in regards to all that. So that was the most significant change from 2003 to 2018, or from the previous ones to, that is why the current one was issued, because of all the fire changes.
Okay. Do you have any additional discussion, Zach, on the property maintenance code?
Nope.
Okay. Roll call then?
Bartholomew?
Yes.
Seidel?
Yes.
Poznanski?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes.
Hart?
Yes.
President Malzahn?
Yes.
Motion carried.
Okay. In your packet, you have the sign ordinance regulations. This did go before the Planning Commission. You have their minutes in your board packet from their March 6th meeting. They did have a couple of recommendations, and I don't know if you've noted those or not. They basically just wanted a timeline put down for the maintenance, so that if somebody takes down their sign for maintenance, that they have, a limited amount of time to actually get it repaired and reinstalled. They didn't want a couple of years to go by and then somebody to put it back up. So we're going to have Mr. Casson update this language and put it in there. Once we get that language, depending on what other input or changes that this board may want to see, Mr. Clark will then draft it in our normal ordinance form, and it will come back for you for a vote. So tonight, we're not necessarily voting to adopt it. We're just having a discussion of, are you okay with this ordinance language? Do you see any deficiencies? Do you see any areas of concern that you think we need to adjust this? And again, the biggest changes to our sign ordinance is that by state law, we're no longer allowed to dictate or monitor what the sign says. You cannot tell somebody what their sign can say. So it doesn't matter if it's a real estate sign, a political sign, a religious sign. We cannot have any latitude or say, aside from profanity, of what a sign says. We also didn't have any option for our non-conforming signs to be maintained. And that was one of the issues that we had in the Central Business District, where a part was rusted, so they needed to take it down and revamp it. They wanted to reinstall it, but once the sign was removed, it then became non-conforming, and thus a permit wouldn't be issued for reinstallation. So we revamped that so that if there was a sign that's grandfathered in non-conforming, as long as they took it down and put the same blueprint, the same footprint back up in its place, that would be allowed if it was only taken down for repair and maintenance.
Is there anything in this, I didn't see anything when I looked at it, but that covers vehicles that are clearly parked on Main Street as signage and are left there all day, every day?
Roofing places?
Maybe. but the business isn't there. So, I mean, is there any provision that allows that to be ticketed or at least flagged as, hey, dude, we know what you're doing? Because,
I am not aware of that provision in here
There's
at
no
all.
time limits out there.
yeah, there's no time limits, but it's clearly, vehicles are clearly being parked there as advertising, not as parking.
Right.
I mean, so it's, I've watched individuals pull up, get out of a different car, go into that vehicle, get stuff out of it, and then leave again. So it just seems like something we would,
Something to run by Chief Dan, maybe.
just to,
Is there a way to enforce that, Mark,
I
that
don't
you would
know.
even know of?
Well, you have several considerations. One is your ordinances generally address off-site signs. So I guess part of the consideration would be, is this an off-site sign? It may be, but then as long as they're complying with the parking ordinances,
which it is.
it could be problematic to say, well, it's a sign, it's not a vehicle, or it's a vehicle, it's not a sign. That's tough. I've not seen that issue litigated. I've not had enforcement questions with regard to that myself. That is something I can look at to give you more specific advice. But on the face of it, that would be hard to enforce.
I'm not looking to spend any litigation money on it. It was really a question, because it's clear what they're doing, and it's every day all
Yes.
day.
Being a pickup truck opposed to being like a big step van, I've seen ones where they have a van and it's a truck that is hardly roadworthy and it's got a huge graphic on the side.
Right,
Those
this
are
is
ones
a
I've seen.
roadworthy vehicle, and, I
Right.
mean, it's not an eyesore by any means, but it's clear what the effort is.
And those, being able to put those on vehicles, the signage on vehicles now is, I don't want to say it's cheap, but it's inexpensive, relatively
It's a wrap,
speaking.
you know, it's a vehicle
It's a
wrap.
wrap,
It's
right.
inexpensive.
It's, would be hard, I think, to enforce.
Yeah, I kind of thought that was the answer, but
But I can certainly run that past Mr. Casson, and Mr. Clark can do a little more investigation. If we
Yeah.
find that there's a way to do that, we could certainly include some language that we would bring back to you. But if not, we'll just leave it as is.
right now, parking's not a problem downtown, but,
Right.
which makes it stand out even more.
It does, it does. Right. Were there any other items or discussion points? This does, sort of tie in our new industrial park sign ordinance that we revamped. Now it's just under one sign ordinance, but they have their own subsection within it, so it's not now a standalone ordinance. Sort of cleans it up. Okay, Zach, did you have any discussion on the sign ordinance?
No.
Okay. No discussion there. All right, so without hearing any other feedback, then we will get this drafted into ordinance form and then resubmit it for May. Okay, you have in your packet, number C, the striping maintenance quote. So I asked Tim to take a peek at who did our striping before in several of the parking lot areas as well as our central business district. It's pretty much non-existent right now. And so I asked them to give me a quote. You can see on the second sheet an email communication where I spelled out specifically what areas I would want them to stripe. Those would include the central business district from Van Dyke from Newberry down to Washington Street for all the parallel parking. The municipal parking lot around the Village Park, which is in the northwest block behind the Masonic Temple to Starkweather Alley. The municipal lot that's on St. Clair Street and Bailey Street, that's behind the Four Corners Diner. The municipal parking lot on St. Clair Street and Main Street, that's between the Pit Stop gas station and the front of the Four Corners Diner. The municipal parking lot on Lafayette and Bailey, the southwest block that's behind Ace Hardware. The municipal parking lot that's on Lafayette and Rawls, that's located behind the Romeo Police Department. Also have them looking at the Central Business District crosswalks and the DPW, the crosswalk striping throughout the village. So those are the areas that he's looking at. The bid is for $5,200, $5,100, excuse me.
$5,100, yeah.
Yep, total. Trying to do the math in my head. He's done this work before, so,
Now, the last time, it was done a couple years ago, right before Peach Fest, and the paint was translucent at best. I mean, it was fresh paint, but you could see through it. But I've seen other ones where they put that paint down and it's a solid, so it can obviously vary on the quality of what they do. Do you know how much we paid last time for whoever the vendor was? Not that we would use them again, but
I do not. I did not look that up. I just know, well, I think that he did some of that work before.
if he did, because
But we can
Mike
right.
was here at the time and brought it up, it was not good.
I don't know if that was weather-related. He said that there was obviously an optimum time and the temperature to that asphalt and the concrete to do that work. All I can do is pose that question and let him know that we have some
The
concerns.
specific was Main Street. The painting that was on Main Street was
Okay.
not good.
Okay, so we could monitor that.
Get some.
I mean, I think it has to be done.
It has to
There's
be
no-
done. We
There's
just
no
need-
striping
But just
there
be
right now.
done right. I
He just
mean,
needs to give us some examples or show us.
if he's the one that did, honestly, Christine, if he did the job last time on Main Street, I remember, I didn't look at all the parking lots, but I remember looking on Main Street, and it was translucent. It was like, it was watered down paint almost.
Okay.
And it was freshly done, and it was like, it wasn't good.
Yeah, I'm not aware of that. I mean, I don't know of any other vendors that do this work. Does anybody else have another vendor that you would like me to contact? We can put this out, request for bid if you're not happy with this, or we can just ask for his insurance and bonding to, make sure that we have a guarantee on the work performance, which I think is probably the simplest thing to
It'd be the
do.
simplest thing, yeah.
I do agree with Bob.
Can our
More off
DPW
quick.
people do it?
Okay.
It was the weekend, it was put down before Peach Fest, and it was down like 3 days later, I was looking at it, and it was, when they applied the paint, it was water, like, it was translucent, that's all, I guess.
Were we having a hard time getting people to bid on this? Was part of the problem?
I know I texted you and I said, who do I even call?
I got my guy, I contacted my guy, but he
Right.
never called you.
He never called me back.
Well, we
So-
used to use A1 striping all the time in past years, and they always did a good job.
I think the
so-
village used A1, I remember that name.
Yeah, we used to use them,
Well, that's one of the bigger contractors. Sure.
yeah.
Tim was familiar with this vendor, and that's where this name came from. He said this is the gentleman that used to do it. Whether or not he did that year or not, I don't know.
Yeah, I would just note, if he is the one that did it the last time,
Right. I
then
don't
that would
know.
be brought to his attention. If he wasn't the vendor last time, just that, bring up that concern that last time it was applied, it
Okay.
wasn't acceptable.
Give us some examples and, right? Just
I don't know if it's examples or if it's just more monitoring the work. Again, if he's giving us a performance guarantee, which he has to give us that insurance, we can make sure that that it's
We
acceptable
want it
once
to
the
be
job is
solid.
completed. And if not, then we would,
Solid yellow lines.
we would take care of whatever we need to do legally to get it, acceptable. And
And payment till you accept it.
Yes. So, if that's fine, then that's what we'll do. I'd look for a motion to accept his bid proposal. If you want me to do something different, make that motion.
I'll make a motion to accept this bid, and then upon your approval, Christine, go ahead and make the payment to him, but not until you approve the work.
Okay.
Support.
I guess the only question I have is neon yellow the color that we want? Or do you want something that's solid and permanent, but not so that it's just the first thing you see are yellow lines everywhere?
No, it wouldn't be neon. It just wasn't solid, like Bob was
Right,
saying.
and
It
it should
seemed
be
like it wasn't.
Kind of like that orange, kind of like that color, like on the fringe on the flag, kind of a,
Because there's, highway color and
But there is
then,
a
Right.
standard, yeah.
yeah, there's a standard. I just don't know if we want that bright of a standard.
Okay. I'll just let him know that we, want to make sure that it will last, and that it will.
And that they're solid.
Yes, they're solid lines. Okay. So we have a motion by Edwards. Do we support? I'm sorry, oh, Megan supported that, okay. Any further discussion? Zach, do you have any input?
Yeah, why can't our DPW people just do it?
They don't have the equipment to do that.
I've seen many municipalities, DPW people get out there with the rollers and the paint to save costs.
You would spend a lot more money with a roller.
Well,
That's a big
I'm just
Or
telling you,
even renting equipment.
seen it done by their department, so we're trying to save some money and not overexceed the budget, and this is one of those areas.
When I asked him about it, he said that there was always contracted out, so,
All right.
okay. Any other discussion? Roll call then?
Edwards,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Seidel,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Fowler,
No,
President Melzan.
Yes.
Motion carries 6-1.
Okay. In your packet, you have appointments. There are 2 that we are flip-flopping right now. I would like to, if I could, add to officially appoint Bob Hart as the tree board ex officio. It's a non-voting member of that board. It is indeed allowable in the bylaws, which you'll be bringing forward. He's been attending the meetings and offering his reports back, but I just never officially appointed him as the tree board ex officio. So at this time, I'm going to nominate Bob Hart as the tree board ex officio. Do we want to do those individually?
No.
Yes.
We'll just do them in groups.
Okay, and then Tom Stevens wishes to step down from the DDA. He has expressed an interest in moving to Planning Commission. When he first approached me about serving the community, I didn't have any openings on the Planning Commission, but Mr. Trabovich has stepped down, therefore we have an opening on planning. And so I'm appointing Tom Stevens to Planning Commission, and Kelly Stevens has expressed interest in serving on the DDA. So I'm nominating both of them for those 2 positions. The Village to City Exploration Committee, the second page that you have, it's not an appointment that requires the board to vote on it. You authorized me to form the committee, so just as information, I'm letting you know who I have extended that offer to and who has agreed to serve. Just for the record, that would be our residents representing Drew Hale, Rhonda Kraft, Julie Grover, Elizabeth Miller, Marvin Cushenberry. From the DDA, Greg Tarr. Representing the Planning Commission would be Tom Stevens, and representing the Board of Trustees would be Randy Seidel. So the 3 that would require motion and support would be the Downtown Development Authority, the Planning Commission, and the Tree Board ex officio.
Make a motion that we accept all these as printed out here.
Okay. We have
Support.
a motion by Bartholomew. We have support by Edwards. Any further discussion? Zach, any discussion on the appointments?
no,
Okay. Roll call then.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Fowler.
yes,
He said yes, sorry.
Thank you.
I didn't get the
Hart.
button up in time.
That's okay. Hart,
Yes.
Poznanski,
No.
Seidel,
Yes.
and President Melzan.
Yes.
6-1, motion carried.
Yes. All right, in your packet, you have the green sheet that's for our public hearing dates. We need to make a motion which includes the language for what we're actually specifically holding the public hearing for. It has to be published in a newspaper of general circulation, so there's some forethought that has to be given to this work. So if we're going to adopt the budget, we need to have a motion to adopt the language and the date for which the budget would hear public comment. Same thing goes with the cemetery millage of the .75 and the water and/or sewer rates. My suggestion, since we weren't doing either of the additional budget workshop meetings, that we may want to table the public hearing for the water and sewer rates if we need to discuss more specifically what we would be voting on. That's what we have to, we have the specific language. So if somebody wanted to make a motion to hear the public hearing on the proposed .75 mils for the cemetery, we could entertain that motion, and the motion for the public hearing on the budget as we've presented it tonight. Does that make sense?
Think.
Yes. So we're obviously obligated to have those public hearings before we do any of that. We
And
can,
we're not actually sure that, other than a Zoom or what we're doing tonight, right? We're not sure we're clear to have like a public forum in May.
June wouldn't be bad.
right. We can't, depending on what the governor does with the stay-at-home order, we can certainly facilitate the meeting as we are tonight with the public input from Facebook Live, from the Zoom meeting, or with the call-ins to the Zoom meeting. So that's the new normal for now, of which we're operating under. So
Okay.
we have to adopt our budget before June 30th for our next fiscal year. And in order to do that, we have to do some homework and allow the public input on those. As much as I would like her to remove that restriction so that we could just put our chairs back up and have everybody come in and do it like normal, that may not be the reality, but I'll make every effort to make sure that the public's input is gathered and they have an opportunity to say what they need to say.
Well, in that case, I think June 15th would be the better date. Hopefully this thing is by us. The virus might be gone.
Okay, so it's,
Doesn't give you much recovery time if you do have to.
right, that's the only,
Right.
that's the only thought, is that if, through public comment, if something fails, then we don't have the, budget that's approved. It doesn't give us any latitude or
So you
time
wanna
to
have
come
it
back
May
and
18th.
give an alternative.
So you'd rather have it May 18th so we have time to act?
I don't think we have much choice.
Makes
because
sense.
you're
Or you'd have
got-
to have a special meeting, which we've done before.
Yeah, but you'd have to have this special meeting literally sometime between the 15th and 30th.
Right. We've done that before.
You'd have to probably have a special meeting, a couple of them in there to make whatever.
I'm
changes.
just saying, we've done that before.
Sure.
There's no need to if we could just do it on the 18th,
Okay.
though, on May 18th. Considering we're so far ahead of where we've ever been.
Right,
I'll,
if everybody is fairly confident and comfortable in the budget that we presented tonight, knowing that we still just need the DDA's budget, and we would still need to look at a revenue sharing agreement to make sure that both boards were in favor of that, which we'll be doing at our May meeting. We could still hold the public hearing, get their input on those items before we actually vote on anything.
'Cause the-
And then if we weren't comfortable holding a vote after the public hearing, then we would be able to move those items to June,
Because the DDA meeting's what, the 4th?
the 4th.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, you want to go with the 18th then?
I'll make a motion for the 18th.
Right, so there has to be a specific motion. So of these, the things that we need the action item on. So we need to make a motion for, to hold a public hearing on the adoption of the cemetery .75 millage. So I can make that motion. Do we have support?
I support.
Support.
Okay,
Who said that, Randy? Or-
8's fine.
okay, and that was for May 18th. Okay, that was Sidle. Any further discussion? Or roll call vote?
One moment. One moment. Okay. President Malzahn?
Yes.
Nate?
Yes.
Randy? Sidle?
Yes.
Sorry. Bob Hart?
Yes.
Sorry. Poznanski?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Fowler?
This is to hold the meeting on the 18th, right? Cemetery?
Yes.
Yes. Okay, yes.
Okay,
Okay. That's everybody. Motion carried, 7-1, 7-0, I mean.
7-0, yep, indeed.
And
Then we need I'll make a motion to authorize the public hearing to be held on May 18th for the 2020-2021 fiscal year budget. That's for public or written comments.
You make that, or?
I'll make that
Let
motion.
her
Yep.
support, 'cause she's got all the,
Yeah,
Okay,
she said it.
all right. So we have a motion by Malzahn, we have support by Bartholomew on
she's
the
got all the
budget.
words.
Any other discussion? All right, roll call on that.
Melvon,
Yes?
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Fowler,
Yes.
Bartholomew.
You called me already.
I did.
Who wasn't called? Everyone was called.
Everybody was called, so
Okay.
that was another 7-0.
7-0,
All right.
motion carried.
And then we have the water sewer rates. I'm not sure everybody's level of comfort, if we are, do we feel confident, or do we know which recommendation of the analysis that we want to go for, or do we want to have more discussion at our May meeting and then hold that public hearing in June?
I have an opinion. I mean, I was ready to discuss it tonight. I mean,
If we can't resolve that, how can we resolve the budget? How can we vote on the budget if we
Right.
haven't resolved the water?
Well, you have Tim's recommendation from the budget meeting of what the minimum would be to maintain that budget as we presented it. There is the latitude to go higher, to establish more of a capital outlay or capital improvement fund. And that's the portion that I'm not sure where we want to go.
right, we have to do the one. I don't think there's a choice, and I would think it's better to rip the Band-Aid off than have to visit a year and lose a year. We're behind already, so I hate raising that, but I think that's the prudent thing to do.
I agree, but I also think that we need some information maybe from Tim and Al that kind of tell us why we need to do this, what potential things are, like, on the ragged edge and limping along, and so
But we
people
already
un-
know those because we saw.
But I don't know if the public knows what those are, right? I don't know.
Well, they
if-
heard about it for the SAW grant presentation. We had the presentation of specifically what needed to be repaired, and it was, I
It
don't
was
know,
almost everything.
$3 or $4 million of repairs, and we said there's probably no way we're gonna be able to do that, but we figured somewhere in between, we would need to compromise and come up with
Right.
some capital improvement money.
What I think we should do is have the discussion to feel how the board feels about it, and we can proceed with that to then have that hearing, but let's see what we,
Right, because if you look at it right now, it just looks like a water increase, a rate increase. There's a whole lot of pieces of that equation that are
right.
why we're kind of leaning towards, as you say, tearing
If
the
we
Band-Aid
are
off
leaning
and getting
towards
it.
that. I
Right.
mean,
I don't mean a 2-hour presentation with a slide deck, I just mean a little bit of background, so
Okay,
I don't know if that answers your question, whether we're comfortable or not, but
What would be the
You're-
totals combined for cemetery plus either choice and water?
What do you mean by totals?
how much is the mill for the .75? What would that be an average for a homeowner?
yeah, Tim has it all in his sheet.
Yeah, I have to go back.
Yeah, it's just a
Yeah, I
matter of,
On the cemetery one, I don't know if he had
yeah. He did.
how much
Well, then was that the
per
42,000?
household is.
Yeah,
Was that
whatever
the
the,
42,000?
Well, that's
How much is that per
If
stone?
we approve it, that
Per-
will be the
per
capital
home.
outlay.
Huh?
That's how much it'll generate, but how much is that per household?
Oh,
Yeah,
one
it
mill
was-
is about $140 per household,
Okay, average
yes,
from the Parks and
about
Rec.
100.
based on what
15.
James had
So-
told us for the road millage,
Yeah,
yeah.
just
One mill
113.
generates about.
It's the
yeah.
same, it's the same that, it's
Right.
Parks and Rec. Parks and Rec is the
One mil for
same.
1,000, yeah.
So it's the same cost that we pay for Parks and Rec.
I'm just looking at if they were both increased, what is the total of the raise in taxes for the people?
If we did the larger one, I did let's just say it's 115 for same as what Parks and Rec is for the cemetery. And then the annual, I'm sorry, I threw all this back in here. There we go. If we do just to keep the cost with a minimum, it would increase minimal users $76 a year, and the average household $161 a year
For which one?
for the lower one.
For the water,
Oh, yeah,
just
that-
the water.
for
Those are
water.
both water.
And just figure the other one is like 115 for the cemetery on average, because that's Parks and Rec. So we have a choice. I don't, the minimum we have to do is going to be 76 for the minimal users and 161 for the average user, and that's just to make it break even. The other one is 143 a year for the minimal users and 302 a year for the average user. That would
And
be
then what is that plus the raise it for cemetery?
like 100, percentage-wise?
$400, right?
Yeah, it's like
You're adding
400,
the-
it's like
And what would be
$420.
the complete tax raise? If these both go through at both of the highs, what would be the raise?
I don't think it's a
The
straight
percentages are out there, and it's,
Yeah.
and
Depends
by
on your
month-
taxable value, right?
Yeah, so it's not an average
Right.
that everyone gets hit the same. It's
No,
your-
but we have an average, we're going off the numbers, we have an average here.
Right, the
That's what I'm
millage,
asking.
the millage, we're just saying is about $115, $120 a year.
But a $50,000 house doesn't get hit with $400. and a-
Right.
And a $500,000 house doesn't get hit with,
Right, and it
The
depends on
numbers are
what your
all-
taxable value
right,
is.
it's all proportionate to what you
Right.
pay in taxes. If your tax
Right.
bill's $1,500 and your tax bill's $5,000,
Right,
you both don't get hit with $300.
Correct, but we're
Right.
just going,
So you can't, you
Average.
really can't come up with you can come up with a percentage,
right,
but you can't come up with a number.
right. And these numbers are just going by an average user too, so it just
Right.
kind of throws that out there, so.
But it's an average user for but it's an average cost of the water and sewer, not based on
Right.
not the value of the home. Maybe I'm missing something.
No, I mean, the percentages are right, but just if the average person is either going to be with the water and sewer, be going up 143 for the minimal user and 300 for the average user a year for that, and another 100, so it'd be like 400 or 250 if we did both the cemetery and the higher cost. And it's about 150, 140, and $75 less if we do the minimal with the sewer.
Okay. Are those rates linked to the value of the home, property value as
The,
well? Okay. So then, yeah, so that,
the water and sewer is by
so you can't,
usage.
you don't want people to walk away
Right.
thinking everybody's going to get hit with $400 more in
Right,
their
well,
tax
like
bill.
Bob said, water and sewer would be by usage.
Yeah.
So
Right.
you
And
have
the
a
average
minimum
user.
bill,
Yeah.
right.
And the average was about what I use, so it.
Water's not really a
Right.
tax per se, it's a
It's an
rate.
increase in the rate, right. The
Yeah.
only tax that's being levied would be the
The cemetery.
.75 for the cemetery.
Right.
That's a tax. The other ones are rate increases.
Right.
Right. So then those numbers are proportionate to your use.
Well, what was put in there, the
Yeah.
average user, and I guess I looked at my bills and I'm an average user.
So, again, if you want me to put together some more calculations, I can do that. If we want to schedule the public hearing to hear public comment on one of those proposals that are in the packet, we can certainly make that motion and schedule that public hearing along with the other two.
I say we just do them all at the same time. Yeah.
go ahead and do them all.
Okay. So do you want to make that motion? Because you
Yeah.
have the paperwork right in front of you? Because it has to be specific. You have to make the motion to hold a public hearing for oral or written comments based on what rate?
Okay, so we're going to go with the right, okay,
That's what we said.
all right. Let's see, location, temporary capital. Maintaining, let me see, I've got the percentages here. But I would make a motion to have a public hearing on the 18th for water and sewer rates, at 12.308 to water capital, and 27.09 for the sewer, is that?
Are those
Is that right?
percentages?
I wish Tim was still here.
Don't want to get you in trouble.
Yes, I believe so.
So those are my percentages.
Okay.
Is there anything else that had to be in there?
Oh,
We should
Catherine.
have wrote them, we should have the motion when it has to be.
I just found out about it
Yeah.
3 minutes before the meeting started, that that's how it had to go. Otherwise, I would have written them myself, so
Right,
I'm
okay.
sorry.
All right, but those are the percentages that were presented on that, so,
Okay,
You want
12.308
yeah,
And
and
27.
27.09.
.09. And that was for
Those are
sewer.
percentage rate increases to
Yes.
both of those water and sewer funds.
Yes.
Okay, to the rates. All right, any further discussion?
Do we need a second?
Support.
Oh,
thank you.
sorry.
Sorry.
We had support by, with motion by Hart, support by Bartholomew. All right. You want to do a roll call on that?
Hart,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Fowler,
No.
Seidel,
Yes.
Edwards,
Yes.
Poznanski,
No.
President Malzahn.
Yes.
Motion carries 5-2.
5-0. That's just for the public hearing. Again, that doesn't make sure that we're
It's not
adopting
passing
it.
anything.
It's
Right.
just
for the
allowing the
public
public
hearing.
notification that this is what we're considering. Okay, the only other thing that we added was to dissolve the parking lot subcommittee, so I'm going to make a motion to dissolve that subcommittee until we reestablish that on future need.
Support.
We have a motion by Malzahn, we have support by Bartholomew. Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Malzahn,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Seidel,
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
He said
Edward-
yes, sorry.
okay. Edwards
Yes.
and Hart.
Yes.
All right,
All
motion
right.
carried.
No longer there. Okay, so now at this time on our agenda, we have public comments. Again, public is invited to speak on any item that they feel necessary to bring forward. If you're on the Facebook live stream feed, you can submit that under the Facebook live comments. You can *9 on your telephone keypad to raise your hand, or you can use the chat feature. Is there anybody who is joining our meeting remotely that wishes to have any input at this time? Nobody? All right, let's close public comment then, and we're going to close the Zoom meeting. We have a closed session. We have a closed session to enter into closed session pursuant to the MCL 15.268 for strategy and negotiation sessions connected with negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement.
So
Need a
moved.
motion to go to closed session now?
That's my motion, yep.
Oh,
Support. Okay. For strategy.
Sorry.
Sessions connected with negotiation of a collective bargaining agreement.
It won't show. Sorry.
No, that's okay, there's a little delay. Okay, so we have a motion by Malzahn, we have support by Bartholomew. Any discussion on going into closed session, Zach?
Nope.
Okay, roll call, please.
Malzahn,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Seidel,
Yes.
Edwards.
Yes.
Okay, you close the Zoom, you lose Zach.
Who am I missing?
Yes.
Fowler.
Yes.
Okay. So
Okay,
we're going to
motion
go into
carried.
closed session. We are going to close the Zoom meeting for tonight. If anybody wants to see the conclusion of the meeting, they can join the Facebook live stream feed, which will resume after we come back out of closed session, or the meeting will be put up online in its entirety within a few days' time, once they get that uploaded to the Mitt TV's or Roku web stations. So. Thank you. Welcome back, everybody. We are out of closed session. At this time, I'm going to make a motion to appoint Ascend Group as our healthcare vendor.
Support.
A motion by President Malzahn, we have support by Bartholomew. Any further discussion? All right, roll call, please.
Malzahn,
Yes.
Bartholomew,
Yes.
Hart,
Yes.
Poznanski,
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Fowler?
Yes,
Seidel?
Yes.
since I'm in Megan's hands, heck yeah.
Motion carries. 7-1, motion carried.
Sorry, who was 7-0?
7-0. Why do I keep saying 1?
That's okay.
Thanks, motion to adjourn.
Hold on.
Oh, Zach's making a motion to adjourn.
Really? Okay.
Sorry, I turned my microphone off. Okay, we're good? All right.
8:40.
Zach's making a motion
How
to
to kill your
adjourn.
battery, Megan?
I'll
It's-
support.
8:40? Okay.
All right, thanks.
Have him make the motion and we'll close session.
Out of closed?
Or out
No,
of,
out of, during the
regular
meeting.
Nate, yeah.
Go ahead and make your motion that you always make.
Motion to adjourn?
Yeah.
Yes.
And we had support by Hart?
Art, yeah.
Well, you had about 6 reports.
Roll call, please.
Fowler?
Twilight Zone.
Hart?
Yes.
Edwards?
Yes.
Seidel? Bartholomew?
Yes.
Wozniacki?
Yes.
And President Malva?
Yes.
Thanks, Megan.
7-0. All right,
problem.
meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everybody. Be
Thank you.
safe, be well.
Bye.